It's been a while. Well, I've been busy lately, and but I now have the time to continue my series of videos about the Middle East conflict, the Israeli and Arab conflict. I finished, I think, in the early 60s, but now I'm coming into I think 1966-67 to the water problem in the north. Now here is the show the map here. This is the map of Israel, and here's the north. This is Syria, and this is Israel before the 1967 war. And you know that in the Middle East there's a major problem of water, and the Syrians during the mid-60s tried to divert the main source of water for Israel, the Jordan River here. They tried to divert it to Lebanon or to Syria. And Israel tried to obstruct the diversion operation from the air by its air force. That led to escalation, while the Syrians that held the Golan Heights is of course here. This is the Galilee, which is a lower part from the Golan Heights, and they started to bomb Israeli villages in the Galilee, and the civilian population were under attack. From 1967, the leader of Egypt, the president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and Egypt itself tried to, from its own interest, to become the leader of the Arab world and the Third World, decided to violate the 1956 agreement. If you remember, the 1956 agreement were two major things: to demilitarize the Sinai Peninsula, okay, here, and to make free the, I'll show you a larger map, the Tiran Strait here, to free the Eilat port, the south port of Israel here. And what Nasser and the Egyptian trying to do that time, they Nasser in May 1967 threatened the UN keeping force that were in the Sinai to leave the area. And after the forces decided to leave, and some historians think it even surprised Nasser, he ordered his army to take position in front of the Israeli borders. That, of course, for Israel were a major threat, and Israel and the US, United States, with West Europe, tried to defuse the situation by saying to the Egyptian to withdraw its army, but the effort had failed, and it was a failed effort because the Soviets backed Egypt back then. Please remember that the Soviets tried to win over the West after their failure in the Cuban missile crisis, and their laid back position in the Vietnam War. back then in the mid to late 60s. So Egypt also closed the Strait of Tiran, and this was, of course, for Israel, it was a major threat to its existence. And some in Israel in May 1967, for 1 month, many were thinking that this is the end of the story, really, and the end of the country. It's known that the government prepared mass grave in a football stadium near Tel Aviv. Well, that's being said, that's why in the 6th of June 1967, Israel started an attack on Egypt in Sinai, and this of course started the 6 Days War of 1967. And after 4 days, Israel found itself again on the bank of the Suez Canal. Now, this is of course the map, and this is the Suez Canal here, which of course leads from the Mediterranean Sea to the Suez Bay here, and to Asia all around. Okay, and Asia and Africa. In the first day of war, in the 6 Day War, when there were nothing was clear, Nasser persuaded Hussein, King of Jordan, here in the east. This is Jordan, and he persuaded him to attack Israel from the east. He told him that he will miss the opportunity of occupying parts of the future divided land of Israel, Palestine. Hussein made a mistake and bombed West Jerusalem from the east of the city. Israel warned him before not to do it, but after it was done, Israel decided to act against Jordan and began to move its army to control the old part of East Jerusalem and the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. Here it is. This is a large-scale map. This is the West Bank. This is Samaria. This is Judea, and this is Jerusalem, divided city before 1967 war, east and west. And Israel now attacking the Jordan from in the West Bank. The army complete the task in 6 days. In the 5th day of the war, Israel decided to remove the Syrian threat on its villages in the Galilee and began to occupy the Golan Heights here. Again, Golan Heights here in the northeast Syria. This was done in 2 days, and after 6 days war, it was all over. A new Middle East was emerging from the war. Israel had tripled its areas of control. Let's look at this the other map. Now, there's in the south, Israel occupied the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip here. In the east, the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and East Jerusalem, now a city without division. And of course, in the northeast, the Golan Heights were now in the hands of the Israelis. Okay. Immediately after the war, in an historic decision of the then unified Israeli government, left and right, it was a decision to return all the area to the Arabs, minus the old city of Jerusalem, which was now already the capital of Israel. In return, the Arab must recognize the state of Israel and to make peace with it, with the country, a peace agreement. But the tragic thing was that the Arabs, even though they were beaten quite strongly in the war, they met in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan in Africa, and they decided in the third paragraph of the decision, in what was became as the three no's: no peace with Israel, not recognition of Israel, and no negotiation with it. And this is my sixth part of the conflict, and I will return with what happens after that in my next video of this series. I hope you are well, and have a nice weekend, all of you. Bye bye.